Permission for what?
To speak.
So, a lot of things have happened lately. We had Groundhog Day, which forecast an early spring, coinciding with Candlemas, and Imbolc, all of those marking halfway between the winter solstice and the spring equinox. And then we had the new moon, which brought in the year of the monkey 2 days ago, which kind of leaves me at a loss, because, you know, I haven't known too many monkeys. I did have a friend who was a zookeeper down in Alabama who, you know, last week I talked about, or last month, about how some people think snakes talk and other people don't think they talk, but this zookeeper assured me that monkeys do talk, and that down there in the Bible about some of them are very religious. And he gave me a poem that he wrote about a monkey that was in his care. Icky, wicky, wacky, poo, screamed the monkey in the zoo. I'm the master in this cage, and no one dares defy my rage. And you may enter, shameless sinner, only if you bring me dinner. Mock me not, for I'm no cuckold. The keeper of the cage just chuckled. And so now, thinking about that, thinking about being in cages, I actually had a moment. Also, we've got Valentine's Day upcoming, but we're right here now. And, you know, and what does it mean to be right here now? You know, the other day I woke up in the morning and I just thought, we are all prisoners. Earth is a penal colony for souls from other galaxies and other planets. In other galaxies and other planets, mothers tell their children, don't do that or you'll be bored in Earth in your next lifetime. And so we come here, you know, we don't remember anything, but we're just stuck in this world, you know, with all of these, with the difficulty of, you know, trying to be good, trying to be happy, and yet constantly entangled by desires that make us feel good, but then result in all of this drama. And every high has a low, so we chase pleasure and we end up with pain and we can't figure it out, and we don't know. It's just, we were sentenced here, you know, for a lifetime, because somehow or another, the monkeys who rule the universe thought that we would benefit from being in this little reform school for one lifetime. So, I was talking last month about Alexander the Great. And, you know, this is like really involved, but what I just wanted to bring out this month is that Alexander the Great was the fruit of a number of different streams that were taking place. One was the political rise and the political happenings that were happening in Greece, being of the lineage of Philip of Macedon. Another one was that he was the fourth generation of the blossoming of Greek philosophy. And then the third one was that his mother was right out of the mother prophetess, you know, Dionysian, Cistercian, you know, mystery religions. And he was the fruit of generations in all of these things, coming together in one personality that they called great. Just like Donald Trump's always saying, this is great, I'm great, you know, Alexander the Hamilton, not Alexander Hamilton, but Alexander the Great was great. And so, just to touch on it here, so that I don't take up with people's times, I'm going to concentrate on the three generations of philosophy, because that was the first time I got up and started talking about this. I talked about the man who knew nothing, Socrates. And, you know, and that was basically where he came from. He called himself a gadfly, and who knew nothing, and he would just go around and question people who thought they knew something and reveal to them that they knew nothing. And, and people flocked around him because they enjoyed this. And it resulted in a lot of profound thought, but none of it ever it only reached the state of wonder. And some people really appreciated that. Wow, and they really appreciated it. As we said before, they realized that to know nothing is the greatest blessing, like the Hindus say, neti neti, not this, not that. Now his student Plato, the second generation, he was a really tricky guy. He, people look at him, but he was actually really full of contradictions. Because Socrates, he never wrote a book. We actually don't know what he taught. The only thing that we have is Plato's writings. And Plato says Socrates is going around with this method all the time. I don't know anything. But Plato always draws the conclusions at the end of his thing. Plato actually founded the school, the Academy, and it became, during this period of time of incredible creative and philosophical and intellectual ferment in the Greek world, it became a center for Pythagoreans and Parmenideans and Heracliteans and everybody to come together to discuss all these profound questions. Also, Plato had gone to Egypt to study in the libraries there. So all the purpose of the Academy was every school of thought can come together and we can discuss it all here. And then he put it all together in his book, in his books, the Dialogues of Socrates, which were really him using the character Socrates to work out dialogue between all these different schools of thought and then arrive at his own conclusions. The one that's of significance here in terms of wanting to rule the world was the Republic, because that was his sort of master plan, was to how philosophers should rule the world and how the society should be organized in order to do that. So coming from the man who knew nothing, we suddenly become the man who says philosophers should rule, but he didn't really mean philosophers should rule. He meant I should rule because he was the greatest, in his mind, the greatest philosopher. And he was recognized not by all, but by many as being such. So he put himself up for hire. Any king that wants to hire me, I'll be glad to come and tell him how to run the country. So one of them did, Dionysius of Syracuse. And not Dionysius the Great, but another Dionysius, his son, I think. And he goes over there thinking, this is great. I've got this young king. He's going to let me organize and rule everything. And then from there, we'll set the example. And then eventually, it will catch on. Other people will want to do it. And I will establish, the Republic. Didn't work out. It was kind of like putting Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton together, and with one, outlining all of these ideals, and the other one saying, the king in this case, saying, no, it's not going to work. We've got to be practical. I agree with your goals, but we're not, it's like in order to achieve it, you have to work with the system. We live in the real world. So it actually was a disaster. And there was a lot of political turmoil, and that was a disaster. So disheartened, he moved back to Athens. And in Athens at the Academy, one of his pupils was Aristotle. His foremost pupil, Aristotle, who, he was trying to share with him all of his wisdom and everything like that. And Aristotle at a certain point said, this guy, like with all of his world of forms and ideas, this guy is like full of malarkey. What is, and developed a more empirical approach and started his own school called the Peripatetic School, because they discussed philosophy while they walked. He would go, we need to get oxygen for the brain, let's go and walk while we talk. And I'll tell you, it works. What I like is to walk for a while talking, then sit down, and then talk till you get charged up, and then go walking again, right? Anyway, he did all this walking and talking, and Athens was going through another political period of turmoil, and they decided to try Aristotle the same way that they had tried Socrates. And he said, no way, Athens has killed enough philosophers, and went into exile. And while he was in exile, Philip of Macedon sent a message and say, I have a young son who is very bright and very talented, and I would like you to come here and educate him. So he was he, together with a number of other rich kings and nobles' sons in Macedon, was Aristotle's student. And one of his best students, he and his friend Xenophon were two of the best. And so Alexander maintained that relationship with Aristotle on into his, through his political career and his career as a conqueror. When he went into Persia and stuff like that, he would send people out to gather all the botanical specimens and to write things up, send it all back to Aristotle. Although they did develop some differences, but we'll save that for the next time. I just wanted to cover those three generations to show how it was that Aristotle was the fourth generation of, or the fruit of three generations in the development of Greek and Western philosophy. And then we'll look to it how then, at how he also was the fruit of kingship and the warrior ethic of politics, and the fruit of the mystical goddess oracles who had close association with snakes. So that's it for today.